You're listening to the adventures of me, Herbert Dashwood, and my stalwart ghoul manservant, Argyle. Today's episode, Between Rockopolis and a Hard Place.
So I know what you're thinking. Otter, how the hell did you get in this situation? Deathclaw Jesus stuck in a rock, Dogmeat going apeshit, and outside of an old, destroyed city. Well, that story all starts with the adventures of Herbert Dashwood and his ghoul manservant, Argyle. This is a popular series on Galaxy News Radio and Fallout 3, and I'm sure many Fallout fans are aware of it. This dramatic radio series, of course, features Herbert Dashwood and Argyle, which is like his sidekick, kind of in the style of a 1950s, 1940s, 1930s radio drama. It's a pretty interesting little adventure as we follow them from their escape at Paradise Falls to Rockopolis and Rockopolis' subsequent destruction. But what some players might not realize is that all of these locations and all of these characters are actually real characters and locations within Fallout 3. Now, some of the details of the story might be a bit exaggerated, but it does give us a pretty good idea of some of the events that led to the destruction of Rockopolis. And with that, that is what led me down this path to find Deathclaw Jesus. So our story will actually begin at Tenpenny Tower, which I already made a long video about. However, in that video, I briefly mentioned Herbert Dashwood, who is a resident within Tenpenny Tower. Assuming you don't side with the ghouls, you can find Herbert Dashwood hanging around his apartment room, or just somewhere along the front lobby in one of the restaurants or something. Now, during the Tenpenny Tower quest, Herbert Dashwood is one of the few that are not hostile to ghouls. And during that quest, before you kill or make your decision, Herbert Dashwood can give you a quest. This unmarked quest, a Manhandled Manservant, however, will not be able to be completed or even started once you finish the Tenpenny Tower quest. So do be aware, you have to do it during that quest. So with that, we are going to time travel back in time to about February of earlier this year when I was at Shale Bridge. Just wanted to point out a couple of things at Shale Bridge as I reloaded this save. There were 2 Yaogwai and 2 fire ants just fighting Dogmeat. I just never commented on this situation, but just a really wild situation unfolding in front of my eyes that I completely forgot about. Also, the texture on this boulder over here is just really messed up. So I just thought I'd point it out because I failed to mention it before. Now heading over to Tenpenny Tower, before obviously I ever completed the quest here, we can find Roy and the Tenpenny security yelling at each other. By bribing our way in with 100 caps, we can gain entrance to Tenpenny Tower. After that, we once again have to find Herbert Dashwood. This time he was in the bar area of Tenpenny Tower, and if we talk to him, we can get some very interesting dialogue. So let's hear what he has to say.
Maybe you've heard the GNR radio play? The Adventures of Herbert Dashwood? That's about me, you know. Based on my, earlier days. I even had a ghoul manservant. Let me ask you, you ever met a ghoul before?
Sure, I've met some ghouls. They're just people trying to get by.
Ah, you've already learned some wisdom in your youth. Congratulations.
You mentioned something about GNR?
Haven't you ever heard the radio play? The Adventures of Herbert Dashwood? That guy at the radio station put it together a few years ago. He did it in the style of those shows they had before the war. Came out pretty well. And it's all true. Rockopolis, Miss Chase, all of it. Of course, they do portray me as a bit of a chump. Argyle may have saved my hide more than once, but I had my moments. Ah, those were the days.
Tell me about Argyle.
Argyle was my manservant. Ah, but that's really just a fancy word for the guy who saves my sorry skin on a regular occasion. He was a ghoul, you see. Been around since before the war. We met when I stole his girlfriend back in '41. We'd been best friends ever since. We got separated a long time ago and never reunited. If you find Argyle out there somewhere, you be sure and tell me, okay?
And with that, we start the unmarked quest, a Manhandled Manservant. Now, Rockopolis is an unmarked location located just north of Girder Shade and directly west of the Smith Casey garage. So from Girder Shade, it's pretty easy to get here. You just head directly north, and I found a random encounter outside of Rockopolis. This woman was murdered by a rad scorpion. Now, regardless of if you started the unmarked quest, you will always find the same loot within inside Rockopolis. However, you cannot get the rewards from the quest from Herbert Dashwood. Now, inside of Rockopolis, well, there really isn't a whole lot. There's a couch, a ham radio, a 10mm. Over here on this table, we can find a note called Rollings, We're Done. This note reads, Rollings, that's the last of these fucking hole dwellers. Jurley wants to shop them around up north. Not sure if they'll make good slaves, since their eyesight is so shitty, but that's not our problem. So gather the boys and saddle up. Next stop, the pit. Of course, this teases the DLC The Pit, and obviously the pit refers to Pittsburgh. Now, as we go further into the cave, we will find a bunch of collapsed rocks and Argyle's dead body. Next to him is the unarmed bobblehead. This is kind of an Easter egg or just reference to Argyle's unarmed skill, since during the Galaxy News Radio series, he often uses Kung Fu to rip people's hearts out of their chests. So either Argyle is a super badass or, it's a little bit exaggerated. Anyways, if we head back to Tenpenny Tower, we once again have to find Herbert Dashwood. Man, this old man can be difficult to find. He was definitely once an adventurer. But this time he was just residing in his apartment. And if we talk to him again, we have this interesting conversation. I found Argyle. I'm afraid he's dead.
Dead? Argyle? You're sure? My God. I always thought he'd outlive me by at least 100 years. Poor bastard. But thank you. Thank you for telling me. At least now I know. At least now the poor guy can catch a breather. I'd like to return your kindness. Here, take this key. It unlocks my safe. Lots of stuff in there I'll never use again. My adventuring days are over.
And after that, we have now completed the quest, a Manhandled Manservant. And we can go over to Dashwood's safe with the key he just gave us, and we can take everything inside of it, very kind of Herbert Dashwood. And apparently it is stealing. God damn it, Todd. So yeah, this quest is actually glitched. Even after receiving the key, taking anything is considered stealing, and Dashwood will just take it all back. So if you actually want the loot within the safe, you have to make sure you are hidden, but you will still lose karma for stealing, even though Dashwood literally just said we could take anything in the safe. God damn it, Todd. Anyways, whatever, doesn't really matter that much, but I just thought it was a really cool quest that would be very easy to miss. I know I certainly missed this quest, despite the fact that Herbert Dashwood is a beloved character by Fallout fans. Now, when I came back with my actual character, like in the present time, I found 2 Deathclaws killing a Wastelander outside of the Rockopolis. Instead of 2 rad scorpions, it was 2 Deathclaws. One of the Deathclaws, though, here, Deathclaw Jesus, got stuck inside of a rock. And then I lit the Deathclaw on fire, and I think instead of Deathclaw Jesus, it's like Deathclaw Satan. This thing actually looks like a spawn of a demon from hell or something. Anyways, me and Dogmeat killed the Deathclaw that was trapped, and I just wanted to show that, yes, you can still enter Rockopolis even without the quest, and you will still find all of the same loot. There is the note about the pit, and then there is Argyle and the bobblehead. So no matter what, make sure you come here. Argyle has 20 caps on him, not bad. Make sure you pick up the bobblehead. Now, as I said earlier, Herbert Dashwood is usually seen fondly by the Fallout community. However, I have some reservations about him. So during his series, Herbert Dashwood and Argyle set out to find the hidden settlement of Rockopolis, a rumored super secret, super secure refugee-free city that was free from chaos of the outside world. Eventually, though, they did find Rockopolis. However, during this entire time, they were being shadowed and followed and even misled by slavers from Paradise Falls, who sought to capture Dashwood for a ransom. Unaware of their pursuers, though, Dashwood and Argyle led them straight to Rockopolis. Then these slavers, following their trail, discovered the location too, and when Dashwood and Argyle left, after killing the leader of Rockopolis, Argyle killed the leader, they were massacred and enslaved by the slavers from Paradise Falls. Again, I just don't know how much of a good person he is. Of course, it wasn't intentional, but he seems to show zero to next to no remorse about the fate that became of Rockopolis. But that's just my 2 cents on Herbert Dashwood. He is kind of a quote-unquote retired player character within the game. So let me know what you guys think of him and Argyle and their adventures. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Unexplored Capital Wasteland. If you have any ideas or recommendations for future videos or future ideas, please post them in the comments section below. Now to end off this video, I will include the rest of the final episode of the adventures of Herbert Dashwood, so we can kind of see the beginning of the end for Rockopolis. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, until next time.
Just ease away, zombie. No funny business. Funny business? Miss Chase, you hurt my feelings. I mean, there ain't nothing funny about the Eagle Claw! Ah! Good God, Argyle! You ripped out her heart! I always knew this broad was heartless. Get it, boss? Heartless? Your kung fu skills may be unparalleled, old chum, but your comic delivery leaves something to be desired. What is the meaning of this? Oh, magnificent King Crag, fearless leader of Rockopolis, it's me, Daring! Daring Dashwood? Herbert Dashwood? I should have known. But who is this? This dead woman? And is that her heart? She's the least of your worries, Craggy. In a few seconds, the slavers are gonna be breaking down your rocky front door. Slavers? You led the slavers here? To Rockopolis? You idiots! Do you realize what you've done? Inspired you to tighten your defenses? Dashwood! Warm welcome's over, boss. Time to scram! Citizens of Rockopolis, destroy these interlopers! This way, Argyle! Into the caves! It's our only chance! They're gaining on us, boss. That cliff up ahead. You think you can jump it? You ain't as spry as you used to be. Child's play, you withering worrywart. What's this? Whoa! Boss, don't worry. I'm coming. Best hurry, old chum. I can't hang on much longer. I think this could be the end of... Be sure and tune in next time for another exciting adventure of me, Herbert Dashwood, and my stalwart ghoul manservant Argyle.